Well, Martin Sirk is the Chief Executive of ICCA, the International Congress and Convention Association. The source, the ultimate source of association business rests in your database, Martin. Tell us about how you're updating that.
Well, we just had a big launch. It's my director of marketing described it as a 30-month pregnancy. But finally the programming was complete, the majority of the bugs were eradicated, and we launched a redesigned version of our association database. And it's meant to be simpler, smarter and faster. Well, that's the summary.
It's the smarter bit that I'm interested in. I mean, because obviously only a couple of weeks ago the ICCA rankings came out. We were besieged with press releases. We're the best at 50 to 200 delegates. We're the best at this, best at that. Well, okay, so what?
Well, the point about this database is that up to now, it was quite difficult to work with. It required training. Essentially, the researchers who were working it were sitting in a dark corner. So the bosses could say to them, hey, find me this information, and then they'd see the results. But they didn't know what went on in that black box in the corner.
Got it.
Now, I think the easiest way to explain it is that even I can use it. And if I can use it, it means that any director of sales, director of marketing, CEO can actually really design their own smart, filtered process for identifying which events do they want to get from this. We're talking about 200,000 events, 20,000 regularly occurring series of meetings, and to extract the ones that really are valuable for your destination, the link to your economic development plans or your intellectual strengths, is really kind of challenging. Now that process has been made much, much easier, more transparent, more intelligible.
Well, the timing of this is really good, Martin, because you and I were at the Joint Meetings Industry Council gathering. There have been conventions, industry council meetings. We've had the IMEX Politicians Forum, and the trend at long last, hallelujah, is that destinations are using business events as vehicles to drive their development in key priority sectors. And the timing of an updated database combined with the big data tool is absolutely ideal, both for building ambassador programs, identifying the events, and getting closure in those sectors.
You've answered the question yourself there,
Anybody
James.
think absolutely. I was an ICCA member? But
exactly. No, it's a very serious point. I mean, I think the recent conferences, the Politicians Forum, we're more aligned now with the messages that resonate with the politicians. I mean, they are interested in developing their cities as competitive and successful for the future, and that requires investment by the right sorts of industries, attracting the right sort of young people to settle there. It requires venture capital, it requires visibility, branding. All of that links into this way of looking at the international meetings market.
Absolutely right.
It's no longer about number of bodies in beds, how much you're spending on the cappuccinos and breakfast. There's a recognition that there are now ways to measure the value of the discussion over the breakfast, just not just the cost of the cappuccinos.
Good. Spot on. And you've been banging that drum for some time, and credit to you for it. But I take issue with the emphasis on the ICCA rankings by destinations, because it's misleading in relation to the profile of a destination in relation to its position in the biotech field or whatever. No, that is a numbers game. What are you doing to actually help destinations realize that actually they could rank much higher in other indices?
Well, there is a number of things here. The first is that my editorials, when the statistics are released, which it seems nobody ever reads, try to actually put in context that this is just one segment of the market. And the second thing is that we've developed a DIY stats tool, which means you can actually go back and extract whatever data you want from that database to highlight your strengths. So you could pull out life science conferences, you could pull out biotech conferences and rank yourself according to those. But the cool thing we did this year is we partnered with one of our speaker companies from last year who specialize in city competitiveness to showcase the 20 most credible global city rankings, so that our members could actually then look and see, well, how do they rank in the livability ranking or in the Network Society City Index.
Great.
And it allows a better context. You know, so you may not be number 1 or number 5 or number 10 in the ICCA rankings, but you could be one of the fastest growing cities in particular fields. Yep. And it's important that when you're putting out messages about our industry, yep, you link it back to those storylines around economic development, around intellectual capital. And to do that, you cannot simply rely on ICCA statistics. I mean, we're delighted that people are giving us credit, yep, but it's only a segment of the market. And our job is to help people understand the context and communicate in a more sophisticated way. It also helps that we encourage our members, when they talk about their stats, to also talk about the events they won in the last year for yep, future years. Because of course, where you appear in 2014 depends on the work you did in 2010, 11, 12. Yep. And you shouldn't be judged on where you are in last year's figures.
Yeah, and you should not be judged on how many events you held.
Yeah.
But you can be judged by saying we're building a reputation, we're building collaborative networks through business events in biotech as an example, and therefore we are building a brand or we are building a profile as an intellectual capital in that field.
Correct.
Martin, we have to stop because otherwise you'll miss your coffee. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, James.